The latest IP from Bethesda has dropped, Starfield. And already there's a whole bunch of culture war drama over whether or not the game is woke. But another new game is dropping on consoles. I believe it may have already dropped or dropping soon. It's on PC. It's called Baldurs Gate. Now, for those that don't know anything about these, fear not. They're video games. I'll give a general idea of what they are, but they are both introducing wokeness in their character creation models. A Trojan horse, as it were, for ideas that don't make sense, shouldn't exist, confuse young people, and oh boy, the leftists are getting really mad about this. I mean, they're rather happy that these games have introduced pronouns and gender identity. But look, make a game. I don't care how you want to make it. But I'm going to criticize it because I'm allowed to, and I have opinions. And if you like it, good for you. Play the game. I'd not recommend anyone get these games for their kids for a variety of reasons, not just relating to pronouns. I mean, these are games where you're shooting and killing people. And Baldur's Gate's definitely for adults because there's like nudity and adult interaction, stuff like this. So fine. We talked about this a bit last night, but I wanted to go over it here on the Timcast news channel. So let's talk about it. It all starts here with Starfield. The gamer says, Starfield isn't woke. You're just afraid of the future. What does that mean? Well, okay. As you're creating your character, you can give pronouns. Here's the funny thing about this. I've not played Starfield yet, but I've talked to some people who have. The idea that you need pronouns is nonsense. Why? Because people only use your pronouns when you're not there. So like, if I'm not around, you better refer to me in a way I want to be referred to. Okay, if you're the kind of person who insists upon that, then I'm probably just going to insult you. But fine, whatever. My understanding is that they've gone out of their way, in this game to create circumstances in which they use your pronouns while you're standing right in front of them. Now that is amazing. Apparently in the game, there are circumstances where you'll be in a conversation, someone will say something, and then the person will be like, well, yeah, ask him. Dude, those kind of circumstances are rare. If you are in a conversation, people won't typically just use pronouns like that. It can happen, but they're intentionally trying to make it. Now, I guess the only pronouns they have in the game are she, her, he, him, and they, them, or whatever, or some combination. But congratulations. The argument they're making as to why they have this is that in the future, everybody just chooses their pronouns. No, dude, only your crackpot cult actually does this. And you are few and far between. To be fair, I suppose you make the argument that your worldview is predicated upon your psychotic death cult winning the culture war, but good luck on that. Ultimately, I care only a little bit. It's whatever, play the game or don't. Now, what I really love in the wokeness of games is Baldur's Gate. This is a Dungeons and Dragons style video game that came out like a little while ago. It's being ported to consoles soon. And we have this from the Mary Sue. Bodies, Baldurs. Okay. Celebrating the trans inclusivity of Baldur's Gate 3. I'm just going to come out and say it. The way the character creation system is, if you randomize your character, you typically will get some kind of abomination. I know YouTube might not like, but I'm not talking about trans people, okay? Because the character creation doesn't even create a typical trans person. It creates a strange amalgam of identities akin to, like, I don't know, a Cronenberg film. Let me explain. Baldur's Gate is particularly woke in that the character creation screen allows you to choose body types. Okay, that's fine. And they have, I think it's 2 male and 2 female body types, one larger and one smaller, female faces, male faces, androgynous faces, as well as secondary sexual characteristics like breasts, shoulders, facial hair, hair color, skin color, and whatever. Typically, when you're creating a character in a video game, let's say Fallout 3 or 4. For those that aren't familiar, it's just a video game. You create a character. And you will choose male or female, and then you will randomize. Typically, when I play these games, I just choose random. I don't care. I'll be like, give me a random character. I don't play, I don't know. I don't know how people typically play games. I don't view games as controlling myself. I view it as controlling a character, and I'll make a character I think is interesting. For instance, playing Mario, I don't imagine that I'm Mario. So when I play games, I don't care to create a version of myself to be in the game. I guess some people do. I don't. I just like, give me a random character with a random name because it's ancillary, right? I guess it's a first-person game. You can make the argument you're supposed to, but whatever. Baldur's Gate is third person, multi-character party, RPG, turn-based, whatever. When you're choosing your character, it allows you to pick body types, a male or female body type, a gender identity, voices, and secondary characteristics. So what happens? Okay. When you choose random, like I did, you'll get like an orc character with a big male face and masculine jaw and like a beard with women's hair, a female voice like this on a like woman's body with large boobs. And it's just like, okay, all right, let me break this down. It's one thing to make a transmasculine character, as they call it, a character who has masculine features with a masculine voice, but skews towards the feminine and identifies as female. It's another thing to make an androgynous character, things that you'd typically expect in real life to make a character of yourself. My point is simply this. I don't care if you want to make a trans character. Literally, no issue. The issue is the randomization of character creation mashes it all together and creates something not seen typically in the real world. Obviously, there's like elves and orcs and stuff like that and whatever, tiefling. Those aren't real creatures. But what I mean to say is you'll get a... it tends to make, or at least in my experience when I'm pressing random, they're almost always not white because there's more skin tones that are not white than white. And I'm not saying there's an issue and that there should be more white characters. No, that's not the issue. I'm just pointing out how the math actually breaks down. You're typically going to get a person of color with an amalgam of various secondary sexual characteristics, creating a character that is just, I don't know, gigantic fangs, a masculine big hairy beard, like I mentioned, women's, or the inverse, a dainty small female face on a massively ripped body with a deep voice. And it's like that, I don't know, like it breaks the randomization function of it. If you're like I said, look, if you're going to make a character and you want to have like a masculine body, but a female voice because you're trying to make yourself and you're trans or whatever, like, yeah, I really don't care about that. I kind of wonder though, wouldn't someone who is trans, like let's say you're male, wouldn't you just make a typical female character? Typically, the typical trans issue is trying to be the opposite sex, right? Gender affirming care, they call it, is taking a male and giving them hormones so they present more female and softening their voice and removing facial hair. All of these things to simulate the opposite biological sex, for which they're not. And females who are trans doing the other thing like getting their breasts removed. So if you were playing a trans character, if you were trans, wouldn't you just make a character that was female if you identified as female? In which case, I'll put it this way. If you're biologically male and you identify as female, you would make a female character that was female. If you were a female that wanted to be male, you make a male character that was male. What is the purpose of creating this randomized amalgam of all different races, sexes, and whatever? And it just creates something really strange. And the reason I say abomination is because it's more, it's the uncanny valley. The uncanny valley, if you know, in CGI is where it gets too realistic, but not realistic enough. So it kind of freaks you out. If I saw a trans person, I'm like, okay, it's a trans person. If I see a trans man or trans woman, I'm like, yeah, whatever, do your thing. I have friends who are trans and it's whatever. We've had them on the show. We're having a trans person on the show this week. I'm like, do your thing, man. I'm more libertarian in that regard. But what if you saw someone who was like, I don't know, gigantic, like messed up hair in various ways. It's random colors with a like hot pink hair and a neon green beard with one boob. And you'd be like, is everything okay? I'm not ragging on people who are differently abled or appear that way. I'm just saying the game prioritizes a body type and persona that does not exist. Ian said the same thing. He said the character randomization created abhorrent characters. And I'm just like, yeah. But you know what? Part of me, I don't really care if they're making character creation that is as widespread as possible. And you can quite literally make any character you want. If the end goal of all video games is going to be that you can create literally whatever your imagination is in whatever universe you want, probably. So I'm not surprised they've created these options. And simply put, for me, I really don't care. It ruined the randomization experience, but that's minimal. I just will make a regular character. And so eventually I did get like a normal character, like a half elf, like just like regular looking. And you make two characters or something like that. I usually just go for random. I'm not super interested in like making a character. I don't know, whatever. Make a character that's interesting. My view for the most part is just like, don't do it if you don't want to. I don't think there's pronouns in it. I think if you choose identity, they might do pronouns, which can be weird. If you like make like a dude character with like a female identity and a male voice or whatever, they might say she, her, just whatever. But that's where language breaks down and things become illogical. And you can see that they're trying too hard. The bigger issue, I suppose, is don't buy the game if you don't want to support these endeavors and these pushes, and that I can get. I had no idea when I bought the game. It's tough. We don't have other games, and it's a question of how much do you really care. For me, for the most part, I don't know. Many people have said that these features in the game are they're normalizing. It's normalizing the practice. Fair point. Don't buy the game. So I'm wondering if I should even bother with Starfield. People are telling me it's really bad. It may be. It's tough. I think we need a new gaming industry. We need to make our own games on par with these large games. These are complicated games. Baldur's Gate's particularly complicated in how it operates. I'm really impressed with the gameplay and the mechanics and all that. And I'm not surprised people are getting upset about it, but whatever, man. Some people are a bit more bent out of shape than I think they need to be. And apparently this all started because some guy went on a rant about pronouns in Starfield. But I've heard from people it's pretty woke. Take it or leave it. Play the game or don't. Perhaps if people choose not to buy these games or reject them, these companies will back off from this. I kind of feel like ideology is less relevant here, though, because where we're heading in terms of character creation is, eventually you're going to be able to play as a gigantic ball of gas. And then you're just going to your character can be literally anything. If you could be a dragon or a gnome or a brick, eventually we get to a point where a game is just like literally create anything you want to be your character. And then what do we say? You can play as a statue. That's, a guy made of solid gold. And you're going to be like, dude, you can play as you can be a carrot if you want, So I don't know what to say about this other than I thought it was interesting, but I'll leave it there. Excuse me. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.